Agnes's aspirations for a career in nursing were to remain confided in her journal in what she called her secret life for several years yet. When she was 18, her father died and the family moved to Dublin. She continued her studies and at her old tutor's suggestion began teaching in Lugard Ragged or Hedge School, bringing basic numeracy and literacy to the children of the poor who would otherwise have had no formal education. She travelled to the west, staying in Connemara and realising the importance of education to the young people in this remote and impoverished region. She started raising funds for schoolmaster salaries. The major catalyst was to come when she was 21. Her mother remained frail, and she herself suffered considerably from migraines. Together with Josephine and their aunt, they travelled to the continent for an extended 6-month vacation in France, Germany, and Switzerland. Not unusual amongst young ladies of their background at this time. On that visit, Agnes was to spend a week at Kaiserwerth. It was a week that was to change the course of her life. Kaiserwerth was a small island on the Rhine, home to a community of weavers. When their landlord went bankrupt, the villagers were saved from starvation by the intervention of a visionary evangelical preacher, Pastor Theodor Fliedner, who provided food and shelter. From the centre, he set up an organisation with some 300 trained staff, extending to 15 locations, running orphanages, homes for the aged, lodgings, houses, schools, hospitals, and an asylum. Basic Christianity at its most exemplary. Agnes was a willing convert and disciple.
June 27th, Bonn. At breakfast it was proposed, and Mama consented, that I should spend a week at Kaiserwerth in order to understand the whole work of the institution.
This is more than I ever dared to hope. How thankful I should be. The Lord has heard my prayers, answered them in an unexpected manner.
So it's true then, you are going back? I'm quite sure. It's so far from home. We speak only a little German, and Mother would have...
Mother has consented and it's all arranged. Oh, Josie, it is far from home, yet it feels like home too. I was never more sure of anything. There's such love there. That's all I want now, just to train and work among them.
What will you do?
Whatever I'm asked. It seems they select every novice and assign her according to his special capabilities. They already know I've taught in private school, so perhaps it's where I should work to begin with. Maybe in an orphanage or with the older girls. They train them, you know, to become governesses, so they can find positions when they leave at 17. They were taught the same subjects we studied in Dublin. Things like history, botany, geography. Some have even gone on to become teachers themselves.
But what about your nursing? Is it still what you want?
I don't know. I think so. Oh, Josie, they're so, well, visionary. Even in the asylum there are books and music, and the mental patients are taken for visits out and around the community. They get to work in the gardens, and they're voluntary. They can leave whenever they wish. There are no locked wards, no screaming, no crying, none of that violence like we know in the asylums here. They have dignity. And it's all in this vision of this remarkable man. He turns everything to good. Imagine, Josie, when he was diagnosed with consumption himself, he set up a special hospital for consumptive patients. And he's got the women who have studied pharmacy to develop their own drugs. And Josie, I'm so excited.
I believe you, Agnes. I couldn't do it, but I'm happy for you, really. I shall miss you, though.
I'll write every week, every day, and I'll follow you back to Ireland.
Will you?
Yes, yes. And by then you would have married your curate, the good Mr. Higginbottom.
Agnes!
Yes, you shall. You should be every bit as happy as I. And now Freddie won't be on Australia.
It's for the best. A new start. Best for Mother, anyway.
I know. Will you miss him? I shall.
Like I said, it's a new start for all of us. With the kangaroos, remember?
With the kangaroos.
My darling Jay, though none of the dreadful things you imagined has happened to me this past week, since I have been allowed to stay on, I was glad to have your letter and hear that you are all well. Today was a very busy day. There is such love between all, and everyone is so free. No one would think Kaiserworth is essentially a convent. I am so happy here. Today, 7 insane patients and I went to a farm nearby. We talked for 3 hours in German, believe it or not. One old lady I cared for was very inquisitive. Some would hardly speak, but all seemed well pleased. Yesterday I was in the hospital and infant school all day. If anyone comes here for rest or quiet solitude, they are much mistaken, for all is busy. Yet the work is so beautifully apportioned that there is never any bustle, anything neglected or left undone. You write much of Mr. Higginbottom and his devotion to the parish. In your next letter, I must hear more about his devotion to you, which I assume is reciprocated. Your loving sister, Agnes.
(1856) was to see the next major turning point for Agnes. Back in Fawn, Josephine did indeed marry her curate and help with parish work, as well as caring for the girl's mother. On a global scale, it marked the end of the 3-year Crimean War, a conflict between Russia and a coalition of Britain, France, Sardinia, and the Ottoman Empire. Politically, it was a major turning point in the history of post-Napoleonic Europe. Medically, a catalyst in the development of modern-day nursing. In military terms, the war had been a blundering, needlessly costly affair, where commanders on both sides proved themselves hopelessly inept, squandering life in senseless engagements like the ill-fated charge of the Light Brigade. Medical services were appalling. More men were to die of disease than on the battlefield. Supply services to both armies were hampered by inefficiency and corruption. Yet, the intervention of Florence Nightingale and the first teams of what were known as Nightingale nurses effectively reduced the injury mortality rate by more than 40%, despite the primitive conditions and basic resources. Even before she had returned from the Crimea, a public meeting had been held in London to raise a fund to establish a training school for nurses following her methods. It was the only public honour she was to accept. Though for the first few years, she was more concerned with army sanitary reform, which she considered more urgent. For Agnes, it marked a clear way forward.